Hey y'all, Data Guy here. So today I want to make a quick little video for you on some of the different ways you can debug your Airflow environment, where to look for errors, how to maybe clear them in a functional way. And then I'll also take a look, locally, some of the commands like dag.test that you can run to actually test your DAGs preemptively before you try to run them in production to catch any potential bugs. Um, so if you like this kind of content, like, subscribe. I make these every day, and I make them for you. So if you have a topic you'd like to see covered, please let me know down in the comments. And so the first thing I wanted to get into is just some of the places you're going to want to look for information around what's going wrong with your code. So to do this, I have a DAG that I've run a couple times. It's running into some errors, and so I wanted to kind of look at, hey, what are those errors, and where can I find information about those that can give me the tools I need to actually figure out what went wrong. And so the first place you're always going to want to look, obviously, is within your task instance logs. So typically, this is where you'll get an exception that will say, hey, this instance, I'm just using session tokens, and I ran this a day after those session tokens expired. So I get the provided token has expired error. And so you can also filter these for your particular error type. So if you just want warnings, or if I just want to search for critical or error messages here. So this will just tell me the explicit error message, helps condense these log files a little bit. And also, if you're running debugging software too, this can clear out where you can have Jinja templating to dynamically create debugging messages. You can also, let's say, I want to filter whether it is on the local task runner, where that is actually coming from. So here in the task instance, I can isolate for that particular file as well. You can also download these. So if you want to download this, export it to an external location, you can do that. You can also do it programmatically. And if you go into see more here, you'll also get a little more information. So, again, you just get the full log file. But what you can also look at are some of the details around the task instance, where you can look at the DAG run, the map tries, just some of the metadata around it. But where I always like to check, and where a lot of my errors end up coming from, is making sure the render template is correct. So the render template will tell you what variables are being fed into this task. So in this case, I'm giving it a pandas data frame transform stock data. So this is the task where that data is coming from. And if I go to my XComps, this will also tell me anything that's being returned from this task. So that's if maybe it's a data issue, you can go there and make sure it's being read in the proper data. If it's not, then you go and fix that. And another thing here is, let's say, hey, it's just a quick fix. I need to do, add some credentials externally. What you can do is, when you're debugging or you want to run something again, what I can do is clear this task and then clear it. And you'll see this will actually begin to be queued again. So it'll try to rerun itself after I clear it. So just want to show you these as a couple different ways that you can, check out, get that information you need to figure out what's going on with your tasks, and then get to fixing them. So now that I've kind of shown you just like where in the UI you want to get your information, we'll go into the actual VS Code and look at some of the ways you can test this and make sure that your DAGs have no errors before you actually deploy into Airflow. So now I've switched over to VS Code, and while I am using the Astro CLI to run Airflow locally just because it's stupid easy and I'm not smart, most of these concepts are just open source Airflow, so don't worry if you're not running Astro. It's just I'm running it in Docker, so some of these commands I'm going to show you are going to be running in Docker, but you can also just run them wherever you're running Airflow and get the same result. And so the first thing I want to talk about is, one of the main causes of issues, especially when you're upgrading, is dependency conflicts. So one way to avoid this, obviously, is to, hey, make sure your dependencies are pinned, make sure, your pinned dependencies are obviously compatible with your Airflow version, but also making sure that they're installed. Sometimes your dependencies don't install correctly, something goes wrong. And so what I like to do is, if you run pip freeze and then get rep your package name. So in this case, let's say I want to do boot23. What this is going to do, so let me actually now pip freeze. This is just going to tell me what my package versions are. So what I can do then is just say, hey, compare, make sure I'm running the right package version that I need for this version of Airflow, because a lot of times when you upgrade your Airflow version or you're using a different Airflow version from your package, there can be issues because of the way Airflow kind of structurally changes over time. So this is a great way just to understand, hey, exactly not only what what Bo23, but also what AppFlow, Redshift, S3 APIs are. So very useful tool here. And again, not something specific to Astro. The next one is, let's say you got that infamous red arrow box or red box at the top of your Airflow screen that says, hey, this DAG, it's got some import errors. And it's also really not that helpful because it doesn't tell you exactly what those import errors are. If you try to copy and paste it out, it'll close out. It's just kind of a funny tool to work with. And so what I always do is whenever I get those import errors, is I'll run the run DAGs list import errors command. So I'm running with Astro Dev because I'm kind of running with Astro, but if you could just sub out this Astro Dev run with Airflow and just run the Airflow CLI and achieve the same result. So what this will do here is actually tell you exactly what your Airflow runtime errors are. In this case, I have some issue here with my null pointer, but this will list out any, and I don't have any import errors as well, so that's why there's none here. And so this will tell you any import errors explicitly, and so then you can take that full import error message and actually take that information and go figure out what's wrong with it. Maybe use ChatGPT to debug, who knows. Another option is if you don't see an import error and maybe your DAG isn't showing up in the Airflow UI, what you can do is set this environment variable, Airflow scheduler DAG dir a list interval, and this is to like something like 10 seconds. So what this is how often your Airflow UI or the Airflow web server is going to check for any new DAGs or any updates to your DAGs. And so if you run a DAG, obviously it'll update, but let's say you made some correction to that DAG that there's just a simple error where it wasn't declared as a DAG correctly, fix that, and you're worried, hey, why isn't it showing up now? You can adjust this environment variable to make sure, hey, it's going to quickly parse that update to that DAG and make it available in the UI. Because obviously it's not available in the UI, you can't just run it to force that DAG parse like you would usually. So just useful environment variable to know that I don't think a lot of people do know about. So wanted to let y'all in on a little secret. Another good command to just find out if your DAG is actually being recognized is, again, I'm running Astro Dev run DAGs list, but it could just be Airflow DAGs list. That will say whether or not this has registered your Airflow DAGs in the metadatabase. And I don't know what's going on here in my Docker environment. Probably got to do a quick Docker prune, but this will list any DAGs that are available are recognized by the metadatabase. And if they're recognized in here but not in the web server, you might want to just restart the web server. So this was actually an Airflow 2.5 feature. That is dag.test. And so this is not that complicated at all, but basically it's really, really cool, honestly. So essentially what this does is it will execute every single task within this DAG file at the same time to see if they run. So obviously things like, if they're dependent on each other might cause some issues, but this is really just saying, hey, is this actually going to work? And testing all those tasks at the same time so you don't have to worry about it going sequentially. And so just a super, super useful tool to have. And so all you have to do to enable it is if name equals main. And so all you have to do is just say, hey, whatever you declare your DAG object as. So here, add it to DAG-object.test. And so the way you can then use this after you've added this DAG-object.test method is just by running Python, having the path to your DAG, and boom, this will parse your entire DAG really quickly, tell you anything that's wrong, tell you all the parameters of it, and give you exactly what you need to do to actually fix it. So just super useful tool to have. And then finally, what I also wanted to show you is, hey, what if I want to take this a bit further? I want to bring in my own testing frameworks. I want to use these to figure out, hey, what exactly is going wrong? And so that's where you can add tests to your Airflow directory. You can see here within this one, what I have is a test for any import errors, making sure all my files are being brought in from my DAG bag correctly, making sure that they're all tagged correctly, and that it has retry set to over 2. And then what I can do to actually just run these pytests and make sure my DAGs are up to snuff is just run astro dev pytest. And you could also just create a Python file as well and pytest your DAG files that way. You don't need to be using Astro, but it just makes it a little bit easier here. And so you can hear it failed because I didn't have a retry set. So if you want to test things outside of just like, hey, will it parse? This is a great way to kind of implement those. And that is all the different topics I wanted to cover today on how to debug and how to kind of test your Airflow DAGs, make sure they're running properly and that they will be running properly in production. So I hope you learned something. If I missed something, if you wanted to see anything in a future video, drop in the comments below, let me know, and I'll get right on it. So have a good one. Have a good Labor Day. Data Guy out.